Better now? Is it good now?
I can hear you fine.
Yeah, better now.
Okay, okay. So good evening to all the participants and particularly our guest speaker. I am so happy that you able to make it to share from your wealth of experience. This is the first edition of this
Good to
program.
be here.
The program is called the Startup Booster. And the idea behind this program, I got the inspiration from the guest speaker. In fact, he's my mentor. And the inspiration is we are trying to create a community of entrepreneurs and business people and also creative people in Nigeria where we can come under one umbrella and we'll be able from that community to provide solutions and possibly look for opportunities both within the country and outside. And I started the project through what I call the entrepreneurship program. And this entrepreneurship program is a free program just to get people who are really serious to take their entrepreneurship journey to the next level. And I believe that this is the next phase of this program. My aim is to create about 1 million entrepreneurs in Nigeria that will be able to flourish. Let me use your words, this Ben, let me use your word, that will flourish and also contribute to community development. So who is the best person to at
Sounds
least
good to
lead
me.
us in this conversation, if not an experienced mentor, international mentor that has worked in different organizations, currently is the CEO, that is the founder of Portfolio Collective. Portfolio Collective is a network, one of the largest, or if not the largest network of portfolio professionals in the world. And this community yesterday celebrated their 3rd year anniversary. Please, can we use a thumb up to just appreciate this organization?
Thank you.
So this organization helps people who are currently working in different businesses and are looking for a way to set up their own businesses or to at least start up their own portfolio career to be able to at least learn from those people that are already doing great in that industry. And here today, we have the founder of that organization. And also, he is also the CEO of Digital People International. And I know that a lot of you will be wondering, which one is Digital People International again? It is another fantastic organization where Ben tried to at least reach out to the public and to guests on some important topic that relates to business, technology, and several other topics based on his experience. And I would also like to mention that he has worked with the United States Army. I guess I'm right, Ben? The U.S. Army.
British Army. I was in the British Army,
British
but
Army,
I did
yes.
work with the US Army as well. Yeah.
Okay, you see that he's all encompassing, and he has also worked with what we call different organizations like Coca-Cola, Google Europe, and several other organizations. So we are so happy to have him with us today. So without wasting much of our time, I will do a short presentation on what our program entails. But before then, Aliu, please can you volunteer to help me admit people into the room? So I would like to share my screen just to give a little background of what we have here today. Please, can you confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yes, this is just an insight from the responses we get from the public when we send out a questionnaire about this particular program. We have 2 programs running side by side. The first one is what we call the Sadiq Mansuru Entrepreneurship Program. That is a free program. And the second one is also free, which is the Startup Booster. And from the response, based on the different questions we have about 51.3% who are female that responded to the questions, and 48.7% are male. And out of these people, we have 12% of them that operate in the financial industry. And you see that others from baking, artisan, business, several people printing, we have a whole lot of them in this program. We also have several people that said that they've been able to at least employ several people. For example, this group of people that we are working with they've employed 1 to 4. They have employee that works with them about 1 to 4. That represents about 75.9%. And we also have 13% that say they have about 5 to 9 employee. And we have also on this platform, we have people with over 10 people that have about 10.3% also with us. And let me move forward. Based on their annual revenue, we have what we call about 38.5% said they make between 100,000 naira to 500,000 naira, though that will be calculated in dollar or in pounds as we go. Then we have about 11.5% that makes over 2 million. We have those in the yellow category that say they have about 1.5 million to 2 million on a yearly basis. Then the last is that we have 15.4% that say they make up to 501,000 to 1 million. So it shows that these people that we have, the entrepreneurs that we have on this platform, are already making some significant money in their businesses. And lastly, that I would like to also mention is that different entrepreneurs are in different stages of their business. And we have a whopping 50% in their early stage, meaning that they are in the product development and testing stage. And we have 37.5% that say they are still trying to validate their own products or business. And the last part is that we have 12.5% that says that they are in the growth stage. So with all these analyses that I have presented, I would like to ask you, Ben, what do you make of this in the startup ecosystem if you are to project the ecosystem in Nigeria with all these data that I've presented?
Well, probably two things. One is I had to quickly work out what the exchange rate was to Naira. So if I got it right, it sounds like 2 million Naira is about £2,000 a year, or maybe $2,500 a year. So I was kind of working out, get the sense of scale. So I was thinking on balance, these seem low revenue, unless I got my exchange rate wrong. But that's fine. You know, all companies start with 0 revenue and then take it from there. Probably the biggest thing that stood out to me is quite how many industries the startups came from. You know, if you were to do that in the UK or US or Europe, you'd probably get 8 industries or 10 industries. So it's kind of interesting how diverse the industries were.
Thank you. And that is true. You know, we have a lot of people in different industries, and I believe that this is based mostly on their passion to want to contribute to the economy of the country. Mm-hmm. And, you know, based on these responses or the statistics from this group of individuals that are making change in their environment, we've selected some few questions based on some of the things that has been mitigating them or affecting them from moving forward as a business. So we've selected some of those questions that we are going to ask you, and possibly you'll be able to assist us to find answer or your own wealth of experience on these particular questions. Okay. Yeah. So the first question I would like to ask is from one of our member here. He called himself Mind Power Creative Consults. And this company is into the education, business service, book publishing, training, and the rest. At least they're in the publishing sector. So this entrepreneur is trying to, he wants to know that how can an education and personal development company increase visibility to the right audience. So if you're in the education sector or the publishing sector, how, based on your experience, how do you think they can be able to increase their visibility to the right audience?
So it depends a bit on who the right audience is. So, for example, education can be targeting adults who pay for their own materials. It could be targeting learning and development managers in companies. Could be targeting kids themselves. Could be targeting the parents of kids. Could be targeting the schools. So the first thing you need to do is say, who are our audience? If you want to sell to schools, you then need to say, what's the buying process? Do teachers decide which books to buy? I'm guessing not. It's often the school decides, or it's the district, or it's the minister, or whatever. So you need, with anything, you need to say, who is the target audience? Because otherwise I can't answer that question. You've got to define the audience before you can work out how to connect with them. And it might be there's more than one audience, but even if there is, you need to work out what's the sequence in which you target them. Education is, at least my take, I much prefer educating adults to children from a business perspective. Clearly, children matter from a life and future of society perspective. The problem, at least in most of the world, with educating kids is schools and governments get in the way of innovation because they say, well, we've already got some books, we don't need any more. Or you're an unknown author, I can't buy the books, or I don't have any budget, or whatever. And it can take you 5 years to get a decision. Unless you're selling to parents. Parents, especially middle-class parents, are normally neurotic about their children's education, and there's always room for another book in the house. So I like if in edtech or education, I always like to say, can you target people who are able to make decisions and make payments themselves? Otherwise, life is hard. As you can tell, I'm not a big fan of selling to government. I know government contracts can be big, but they can be slow. And if you think about it as a startup, the most common reason startups die is they run out of money. Having target customers who take a long time to make decisions means you are consciously choosing to take a long time to make money. Whereas if you can target people who can make decisions and make payments today or tomorrow, you have a higher chance of survival, which doesn't mean you don't over time start targeting schools and governments, etc. But it shouldn't probably be your first customer unless you personally know a decision maker who can make a very big order.
Wow, that is quite insightful. And I learned from that response that at least a few things we should also take note. We should know our why. We should be able to know the right audience before we even start our business. And it is also good to know that your audience, you can have more than the right audience. You can have more than one person as a customer. And as a startup, it is also good for you to target people who can easily make decisions on their own about that particular product. And that can actually help you to at least increase your own level of sustainability. Thank you for that insight. I will move straight to the second question that we received that would like you to also help us to do justice to. And this question is from a company called Imagination Plus. And the company is also about printing. So I think we've answered this. But in this area, this company wants to know that how can a publishing company, a small publishing company, how can they be able to compete with some of the established printing company out there? How do you think they can be able to compete that to the extent that they'll be able to survive?
So it's a great question. First of all, you need to say, well, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the big publishing companies? So if we start with the strengths, they tend to have some quite famous authors, that they can distribute. They tend to have very good distribution, like they get a lot of shelf space in bookshops and things like that. They will normally have their logistics sorted, whether it's Amazon or whatever, for online book purchases. So they've got sort of scale, and they might have some big names, but they're probably not very nimble. They're probably not very innovative. So you then need to say, well, can you run around them rather than run through them? And so what might that mean? It might be you find up and coming writers who are too risky for those publishers, and you promote them. You obviously need to be confident. You don't waste time or money on the wrong ones. It might be that you are better at marketing. So I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, that the big publishing companies are probably not very good at social marketing, like marketing on social media. They're probably not very good at working with influencers. There's probably a lot of things they can't do or aren't very good at. So can you effectively out-market them? I don't know what the logistics are like in Nigeria, but certainly in places like the US, UK, you can do distribution via lots of different channels. So you don't need to build your own distribution, but the key would be, let's say the bookshops don't give you space. It doesn't matter. You sell direct to the consumer. Through basically selling online, or maybe have pop-ups. You have pop-up stalls or stands or shops that outside schools or in education festivals or whatever it might be, depending on the type of book. What else can you do? Can you make some great videos that promote the book really well, put them on YouTube? Can you get interviews for the authors with people that others can't do? But I think it's going to come down to either being more edgy with the product, the right author, the right format, whatever, or being more edgy with marketing, and certainly not accepting it when you get blocked, maybe let's say for distribution, just finding a way around. There's ways around big companies almost everywhere these days.
Thank you very much. So it means that the market is quite large for everybody to be able to survive. So it all depends on the strategy that you put in place. And there are certain strategies that you can also put in place as a small business, and you are still able to at least compete and survive as a business. Thank you very much, Ben. I will be moving straight to the next question that we've been asked. And that question is, there is a company called Empire of the Mind. And this company is into production of eggs and chicken meat for human consumption. So this company too, I think is still also the same thing. It wants to know what are the strategies a poultry farm can adopt to increase sales. So I believe the other concept that you gave us earlier can work. I don't know, do you have any additional maybe strategies you think this company can use to as a poultry company to be able to at least increase sales?
Well, my first question back is, why is a poultry company called Empire of the Mind? I'm guessing there's an interesting story there, because it doesn't fit neatly to me. So I'm wondering why a poultry company is called Empire of the Mind. Look, I'm not an expert on farming or food production or food distribution, but I mean, a few thoughts on the subject would be, can you change the product? That's hard because chicken are chicken, but is there a demand for free range chicken? Is there a demand for something else, fresh rather than frozen? But are there ways to change the product? Taking out certain pesticides so that it's healthier. But basically, can you change the product? My assumption is there are some ways, but it might have already been done. So I think about that. The second thing would then be, are there forms of sales or distribution that haven't been done before? So I'm guessing a lot of people will sell poultry to, say, food manufacturing companies. Can you sell them direct to consumer, or can you sell them to, let's say, specialty shops or whatever it might be? Can you maybe work out distribution with restaurants? So say, right, our key customers will be restaurants, not food manufacturers. But are there niches that have maybe logistical needs or quality needs that others don't meet? Are there restaurants that need fresh deliveries every day before 5 a.m. And they don't want the meat to have been frozen in the food chain? Is that something you can do? But effectively, it's like a logistical challenge, but can you overcome that? Or is there something else like that? The other thing, which is a slight jump off, but is there a demand for like chicken substitutes in Nigeria, like vegan meats, as it were? Don't know if there is. They're doing very well in the West, and it tastes actually really good. There is a worry about they're very processed, but in essence, they're quite tasty. They taste like meat, and there's a demand for them. Is there some kind of meat substitute that you could sell as well? That's another possibility. I don't know. I'm not sure about marketing. Like, can you build a brand around chicken? Probably not. I think it's more around either product, sales, or logistics. And my instinct says logistics is probably the area where there's more opportunity for innovation.
Wow. Thank you very much for that response. I have also learned from this important feedback. At least as a kind of poultry business, you can just take advantage of improving your quality, distribution channels, and other important concepts that you've also shared, insight that you've also shared with us. Thank you very much. I would like to at least invite questions. I would like to invite questions from the participants. Would you like to ask Ben any question before I continue on my own side here? I'd like anybody to maybe give a signal to ask a question. This is for us. Anyone? Ali, would you like to ask questions? Miriam? Naomi? You know, a startup, you don't need to be shy. Mary? Kinde, would you like to ask questions? Patricia, the floor is open. Let's take 2 or 3 questions from the floor before we continue with the flow of the program. Okay, Naomi, you want to speak?
No.
Okay, you don't want to speak? Your business is doing well? Everything about your company is doing very well? You don't have any area of concern?
Not at the moment, because I'm just starting up. That's the word to use. So for now, I'm a beginner. That's the word to use. And I'm trying to get the
Naomi, what will your company do? What are you planning to build?
I already am into fashion designing. I make dresses.
Nice.
But I'm not, I don't know. I don't have the materials. I don't have all the materials needed to go out there and become big. I'm just starting.
Yeah.
So I'm still starting, and I just have a few customers.
Okay.
I don't have a place, or I don't have a shop. I work from home. So I practically, I'm not there yet, but I believe I would be there. I'm just starting. I'm a starter. I'm a beginner at the moment. Yes, sir.
Well, good luck with that. Have you thought about how you will get started? Like, do you need to have a shop? Can you start with maybe a customer list, email list, or maybe some flyers with examples of your amazing designs on them? Or maybe a partnership with an influencer?
I'm yet to start with all that. I have just a few customers, like I said earlier, and I'm just trying to get more. And I don't have shop, like I said, so I don't have a place where people can easily troop in. It's in the house. It's based on referrals that I get customers, and that's it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, good luck.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
I think with time we are going to look at that and possibly see maybe some kind of collaboration where we may likely look at the opportunity of getting a place, maybe based on the viability of the business, and see the possibility of getting a place to. Yeah, I think it's something that can be considered maybe with time. Yes, I can see about 3 hands up. Yes, Kinde, please want to speak? Can you speak, Madam Kinde?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, I have a store, though I'm working. So the challenge I have is monitoring. I have a store, I sell nylons, take away plastic, all sorts of nylons in different packagings, gift items and all that. But the nylons comes in bag And inside the bag, I have like a pack of 10. And inside that 10 again, I still have like a pack of like hundreds, and we break selling, we sell wholesale, we sell retail. But my challenge is how to follow up. Once you break the bag, you lose counting. And because I'm working, I've not yet gotten that method of follow up to know what the sales that is being made per day. I started last year, though the return is not that it's still good, but not there yet. Not there yet. So I think basically my problem is follow up. And when you have a sales person that is slow to, it's a kind of challenge that gives me sleepless nights on how to go about it. Thank you.
Is your worry like theft? Like once you break a package, someone's stealing? Or is it more like just keeping track of the business, like knowing where you stand?
Keeping track of the business. Is the keeping track of the business.
And I just wonder, it depends exactly on your process, but is there like a simple counter? Like a random thing, really simple and kind of old-fashioned, but when you get on a plane, the person on the plane has a clicker with their thumb to count people walking on the plane. But is there something like that whereby it's just a simple routine that every time you sell something, you click something or you press a button, or something really simple that at the end of every day you can just count it up?
I think it's more like a book, not the counting. It's the book. What do you call it? Book that is stock take.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stock takes can be quite time consuming. So I'm not anti them. They're important, but you don't do a stock take every day, I'm guessing, because that's too time consuming.
That's the issue. That's the issue.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Because the nylon I'm selling is different sizes, different
okay, so it's not just one, it's you need to know the stock level of
yes,
each type.
You have them in X1, X2, X3, different sizes and different packages.
Is there any shelving solution whereby you kind of have a lot of small shelves with, there's range 1 with size 1, size 2, size 3, size 4, range 2?
I do.
I'm curious of other people. I'm not an expert in stock management, but it sounds like a good problem to discuss. But has anyone else here thought through like stock management?
Okay. Not yet. No.
Doesn't sound like it. Have you tried, I'm just a random thing, but have you tried, I would say using Google, but you need to know the right thing to search for. Is there a company similar to yours, or even in a different industry with a similar problem, where there would be a case study made or something like that you could find? Sometimes if you, go ahead.
That's what I'm thinking of, going to find out, to learn and see if they have the similar issue with me.
Yeah.
Yes. That's my next target though.
Okay. Good luck with that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that is going to be a good way to go about it. We can just do some kind of maybe do a kind of case study scenario of maybe possibly some companies that have gone through this kind of challenges before, and look at the way how they resolve such challenges. So definitely I'll work with Madam Kehinde to see how best we can manage that challenge. Now I would like to go to Aliyu. Aliyu, you want to speak?
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Sadiq. Hi, Ben. It's nice to have you here. So my question, probably two-phase question. So the first one is, how do you cope, or how did you even cope with, I want to tell me, entrepreneurial depression. I don't know if there's any term like that. Like as a startup, there's this depression that comes when you don't hit targets, you don't get the client. How do you cope with that? Because in my own story, I feel I should be able to get this product out there, or maybe get this client, particularly because of the value I've been able to, propose to them and everything. And at the very end, some of those big firms just tend to, go away, and they don't give you reasons, probably better reasons why they're leaving. And at the very end, you don't get the deal. And when you get back home, the feeling, the depression that comes in. How do you cope with that? That's my first question.
So, hey, Ali, I think I caught the question, but just to play it back, because your voice sounds slightly muffled to me, but how do you cope with depression when things don't go according to plan? Is that roughly the summary?
Yeah, that's it.
So, and there's a few things there. One, for me, is I've got a great co-founder, and I think it's great to have a co-founder, because with a co-founder, you can really talk openly about what's on your mind, good or bad. So my co-founder Fiona is great. She's also a coach, which is great. But having someone you can just say, I'm really annoyed today, or I'm really worried, or whatever, and just discussing it and thinking it through is really helpful. And if you haven't got a co-founder, maybe a mentor, maybe a friend, but a friend who understands business, not just a friend who's nice to you, but a friend who can ask good questions, give good advice, but also who might go for a walk or go for a beer or whatever. But yeah, they're kind of someone who's got your back, but also is pretty knowledgeable about just business and life and stuff like that. So definitely getting the right people around you. This community is probably, I assume, going to be good at helping with dealing with frustration and things not going according to plan. Now, once you're over the initial frustration, you do need to ask yourself, is it not going to plan because of just bad luck or bad timing? Or actually, is it a bad plan? Because ultimately, if it turns out for whatever reason, people don't want to buy your product, there's a better product somewhere else, or a better price, or whatever it might be, then you need to look hard in the mirror and say, do I change my strategy or do I stop? But if it's more like just bad timing or bad luck, you need to work out it's bad timing, bad luck, and say, right, I need to get back up and persevere, because at the moment, this is still a good plan. It's still a good idea. I just haven't quite got it right yet. Because most startups go through 50 iterations before they're really successful. None of them get it right first time. Even Google. It takes a lot of trial and error. It takes a few big mistakes. It takes a few small mistakes. Obviously, it takes some wins as well. And then it takes reinforcing the wins. And then it takes sort of, building structure to sort of stop things breaking, etc. So I wouldn't worry that if you have a few failures, everyone does. That's just part of learning. But you do need to be honest with yourself. Is it something that fundamental that's wrong, or actually just one of those things that's part of the founder journey? Does that help, Aliu?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ben. It does. So my second question is price really the issue when it comes to, you not getting the right leads and all? Is price really the issue?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Sorry.
Can you type it in the chat box?
Is price really the issue for startups then when you're not able to get the right leads and all? Is price really the issue?
I still didn't quite get the question. Do you want to type it in the chat box? Type it in the chat box.
Ali, can you type it in the chat box so that I can read it out? Okay. Ali, can you type it out so that we can read it? Are you typing? Okay, the question is
price really the issue when it comes to starting, not landing deals? No, not necessarily. I see much more fundamental issues than price. So normally if I see a startup struggling, it's because maybe the product doesn't quite fit the needs of the customer, and therefore whatever the price, they probably wouldn't buy it because the product doesn't quite have the right functionality, the right features, whatever it might be. So that's often it. Or maybe the customers are tied into a different customer, so a different supplier rather, and they can't just switch. They've got to wait till the end of an annual contract or something like that. So there's often a lot of other reasons. I say price is one of the easy ones, because the reality with price is if you've got it wrong, you can change it straight away. Whereas with product, if you've got it wrong, you need to change the product. That might take quite a long time. If it's service, if it's there's a phrase we use a lot: product market fit. Does your product fit the needs of the market? Because if it doesn't, no matter whatever your price, whatever your marketing, if no one needs it or wants it, that's a much bigger problem than price. So always make sure you've got a product or service that meets a group of people's needs. And the group of people can't be your mum, because your mum will tell you that everything you do is perfect. So it needs to be someone else. It needs to be a bunch of customers who don't owe you any favors, who will tell you honestly, if you build that, I will buy it. And then when you've got that, the price is just a matter of what's it worth to them? What did it cost you to create? What margin do you need to achieve, and how do you find a balance between the two?
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much, Ben.
Thank you very much, Ben, for that succinct response. I'd now like to call on Abubakar. Abubakar would like to also say something or ask a question. Abubakar, over to you.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Sadiq.
Hey.
And yes, Mr. Ben. Glad to have you with us. Thank you. My question is that how long does it take for a startup to be successful? For an average startup, how long does it take for that startup to be successful? That's my first question.
So that's a good question, but it's a hard question. I would say most startups don't succeed. So that's the first thing, is most end up failing, or at least failing to achieve scale. So they might end up as a hobby, but not a big business. Or they might end up employing 2 people, but never being the big business you want to build. So that's the reality of most startups, is most startups do not become Google. There's only room for a few Googles in the world. Now, in terms of, and obviously some do die because they run out of money, or the founder quits, or there's 2 co-founders and they fall out with each other, or things like that. In terms of achieving success, success meaning profitability, a decent number of employees, a brand that maybe people recognize, some happy repeat customers, etc. It varies a lot. If you get lucky, 2 years. If you don't, 5 or 10 years. It depends as well how much technology is involved. I work with a lot of very tech-heavy startups. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 years or 5 years to build the software that they can sell. So it's 5 years before they even go looking for customers. So it depends. But I'd say if you can get to, say, profitability in 2 years, that's brilliant. If you can get to profitability in 5 years, that's good. Now, obviously, you need to work out, well, how do you fund it until you get to profitability? Most founders have another job in addition to being a founder, because the other job pays the bills, while being a founder doesn't pay the bills. Now, there are different types of companies. Service companies can make money very early on. If you just want to build, let's say, a consulting firm where you have smart people who have clients and you make money doing that, you can make money in the first, let's say, month, or maybe first 3 months. But as you start selling products or software or anything that's more complicated to build and more complicated, if you're really trying to innovate beyond a traditional small business, I'd say 2 years is normally a sort of a good time to aim for. Obviously, aim to beat that. That's even better. But don't be disappointed if it takes 2 years. Like, for example, the Portfolio Collective on paper is doing very well. We've gone from nothing to 9,000 members all over the world. We do have revenue and customers. We've got a great reputation, blah, blah. I'll give you a long story. We're still losing money now. Not a lot, but we are losing money. And if we're lucky, we'll be profitable 6 to 12 months from now. Now, what we are lucky is we've raised quite a lot of money, mostly from our members. So a lot of our members have invested in the Portfolio Collective to help us build something great and not be obsessed with profitability.
Thank you for that.
Does that help, Abubakar?
Yeah, thank you very much for the response.
No,
and the second question is that the world is moving to the upgrade, like the core of innovation and technology. Innovation and technology are playing a key role in invention of products, business ideas, and others. As an experienced person in the field of business innovation and startup, in which way can you advise us, like when we want to start building a product or a business, why do you think we can focus our innovative ideas, thoughts, and technology?
So how do you, so can you rephrase the question maybe? I kind of get that you're saying, how do you come up with an idea and the technology in the idea, but maybe rephrase the question.
Innovations and technology are of high number in today's century. As someone that is coming up with a startup idea or just starting a business, which way can you advise us? Where can we focus our innovation and technology?
Where can you find it, or where can you fund it?
Focus.
So where can you?
Yeah, like, where do you think we can focus our thoughts of innovation and technology?
Okay, so I guess the focus should be, what's the big problem you're trying to solve? So, most startups do well if they've identified a problem that other people aren't solving very well. So if we take Google, which is an example we all know, they said, wow, there's this new thing called the internet, but finding the right website is really hard. So we are going to crawl all the websites in the world and organize them so that when people search for information, we'll provide it to them. Yeah, that was solving a problem. And the initial technology was effectively the scraper. They call it PageRank, where they crawled websites and ranked them based on a bunch of factors. So, and obviously, we don't all need to build Google, but you need to kind of say, what's the problem I'm trying to solve? Is it something to do with logistics? Is it something to do with accuracy? Is it something to do with leisure and fun? Is it something to do with customer experience? But what's the problem we're trying to solve? Can I solve that with technology? If I solve it with technology, what's the business model? Do I license the technology? Do I build a business with technology at the core? Do I build a consulting firm with some technology in the middle of it? But it's what's the problem I'm trying to solve? And the other thing is, what's the problem I'm trying to solve? And how big is the problem? If it's a problem that only one person has, that's not a very big problem. You're not going to make much money unless the problem is Elon Musk. And then maybe he's rich enough that you can have one customer and he can pay you a lot of money. But in general, you want to see a problem that a lot of people have, that no one else has solved properly, and that people somehow will be prepared to pay for. And if they're not prepared to pay for it, there's another way to make money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Cool.
Thank you for your response. Thank you.
No worries.
Okay, I think we have room just for one speaker. And I'd like to call Patricia. Please, can you speak?
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I can't put on my video because my the network is not strong enough to carry the video for now. So I have a follow-up question from the last speaker about technology and its application to solving problems within our environment. So I am a business consultant, and I also am trying to build a platform to help other businesses One of the challenges I am experiencing right now is the technology bits, because I'm not a tech person, but I understand that there are lots of no-code tools that one can use to build a platform, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to use no-code to build something that is very basic, that is very, very basic, that can solve, at least, you know, that can give a framework of what I'm trying to do, you know, because part of, I mean, one of the challenges of the whole technology thing is it's expensive to get coders and developers to develop a whole platform to solve a specific problem, you know. And right now, of course, we're still in development, so there's no there's no income coming in per se in that regard.
Understood. Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, is it a wise? I mean, is it because I have another friend who is also trying to build her own platform. She's also trying to run a startup, and she got some equity. She got some equity funding, and she's building her app, and she's spending a lot of money doing that. And I'm kind of worried for her also, because I feel like, you know, you don't have a market yet. I mean, she's building something in to the tune of about £50,000, and she got equity to be able to spend on that. So I'm just wondering, isn't that risky for a startup to just start getting equity? You don't have customers yet, you know, or is it better to do it, you know, get a cheap MVP, just get something that can work, and with that start getting customers, and then when you have a critical mass of customers and at least some income is coming in, you can then begin to look at bringing in equity. So I'm just wondering which of them is the better solution.
So look, both can work. If you feel like your idea is so big it's going to change the world and you have to move really, really fast, or someone else will do it, you might need to raise it, because it's normally the fastest route to building something amazing. If you think, do you know what, this is more of a niche product, I am comfortable taking 2 or 3 years and building it with my spare cash and learning no code and doing the work myself and having no debt and, you know, no annoying shareholders, then that can work too. What I would say is an awful lot of startups that I know who've ended up successful have started up with like a tech team building a product and a bunch of other people doing consulting to earn fees that pay the engineers. So they're often a hybrid of a consulting firm and a tech firm, where the consultants go and earn good bucks. They pay themselves a tiny salary. The spare cash goes to the engineers. And typically, if you can make it work, the consultants are actually solving the business problem that the engineers need to solve. So it's not two unrelated things. They actually have clients that have real problems. And short term, the consultants will solve the problems by being clever people. But long term, you know, you're building the tech to solve those problems more efficiently. I think it's a very nice model of building a business. It sounds like that's what you're doing. So I would do it unless you feel like there's a window, and if you move too slowly, you'll miss it. Then you might need to raise money. But if you feel like you can work at a slightly slower pace, you know, then I'd say go ahead and enjoy.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right.
So thank you all very much for your questions. And also thank you most importantly to Ben, who has volunteered to come around and share from his world of experience. So we really appreciate you. We know we said we wouldn't take more than 1 hour of your time. And I'd like you maybe to give your closing remark before we call it a day. Over to you, Ben, if you want to say 1 or 2 things. Okay. A word of encouragement or things like that.
Yeah, thanks for having me here, guys. Just yeah, it's definitely important to have, as I say, friends around you. There's a saying that you're as intelligent as the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you want to be an intelligent entrepreneur, hang out with 5 other intelligent entrepreneurs. And whether it's this community, other communities, it seems like you're building a good group here. But get together and chat. No one knows all the answers. It's absolutely fine to say I'm stuck. What's not fine is doing, you know, there's I think it was Einstein said, one of the definitions of madness is doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting a different answer. So, you know, building a startup is about experimentation. And if you're out of ideas or out of energy, talk to each other, help each other, As I say, definitely just hang out with other founders. It's one of the best ways to learn and innovate. And you know what? Some of the other founders might end up being your business partners one day, or your customers, or your investors. So it's also just a good group of people to hang out with.
Thank you so much for this informative, someone say, for this informative webinar. Thank you, Michael, for that feedback. And I also say thank you very much for your time spending with us this evening. We believe that next, when we call you, you're a friend of the family, you're a friend of the community, and we are learning from you. Thank you very much, and do have a great evening. Please, we can stay network if we so wish.